Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my classroom. And today's another watercolor demonstration. I'm broadcasting live from my studio in the Chesapeake. And going out to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and later on I'll put it on Instagram. And I'm live today with my in the studio with my wife, Gloria.
Hello, everyone.
And she'll be monitoring the broadcast and also the chat room. The chat room's live, so you can send me a message or give me a comment, give me a question, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Also, after the broadcast, you can also add a comment to the video below in the comments section, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do another different kind of painting, a watercolor painting. I'm going to start out with a drawing. I'm going to use pen and ink. I love pen and ink sketching. And I'll do that. I'm going to tell you a little history about how I got that, and then I'm going to put some watercolor on it to enhance the scenery and give a little bit of pizzazz, give a little bit of color to the painting. So let's go back. Let's go to my painting table and let me get started. Get the overhead camera. Okay. This is my reference photograph, and it's a picture of the drawbridge. This is a picture I took from my front seat of my car, and I was out going on a plein air last weekend, and I was held up at the bridge with the drawbridge rising, and so I took a photograph, and I said, and there was also a boat over here. You can see a boat here. I caught that in the picture. There was several boats, so I knew I had a few minutes here to take a photograph and even do a quick sketch. So I'm going to use this today of my plein air exercise, and I'm going to do a little drawing and a little painting of this particular situation. So this is my visual journal is what I take with me on all my plein air trips and so forth. I take other paper, but this is the one I use most of my sketches in. So in my visual journal, while I was sitting there at the stoplight, I did a pen sketch, and this is an ink pen. This is an ink pen I use all the time. I'm going to use that today in today's sketch. And the description of this pen will be in the comments in the video below if you're interested in this pen. It's very nice. So I did a sketch, and what I did was I just captured the main shapes, the bridge, and then I got the control tower and so forth. So that's what I did while I was waiting for the traffic light to change over. So I took the photograph, and what I did was I went ahead and did a sketch. Now, what I'm going to do in my drawing is I'm going to draw in the most important lines. I'll be drawing in just the lines that really count, and then I'm going to paint on top of that. But I'm going to capture the essence of the scene with the fountain pen, with the permanent ink, so I can go over it with the watercolor. So this is a sketch. This is my design sketch from the photograph and also from my sketch. And what I've decided to do is, and I'm going to chop the top off here. I think it fits more of a square format. I haven't done too many square formats, which is same square format. The side and the length and the width are both the same. So I'm going to use a square format today. A little bit different. Now from that photograph, I copied on my printer, and I did a value study. And again, I'm showing the important lines of what I saw, but I also put in the values. You can see here the dark bridge up here and the darkness in the roadway, and also the darkness of the trees in the background. But I'm going to keep the white boat that was in the water, and there was some white here in the thing. Now the other challenge is to get the lighting up here in the stop sign and so forth. That's what really caught my eye. So that's going to be my real exercise today, is to show you how I would paint that part of the scene. So what I've done here is I've done a light sketch. I didn't draw on all the lines. I just put a couple of reference lines. At least I got my format set, and put in a light sketch here of some of the things where I want to get started. But I'm going to be drawing in the lines with my fountain pen. Okay. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to start over here with the bridge itself, and I'm going to start up here in the top. And remember, the bridge was raised, so that means the top of it was further away. So that the top's going to be narrower than the bottom. That's a perspective. So I'm going to draw that in. That's the most important aspect of this particular painting, because the story is about the drawbridge. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a horizontal line up here at the top, and this is the top of the bridge. And down here at the bottom, there was a white area that was the base of the bridge. Okay, then the next important lines is going to be the actual poles that holds up the stop sign. So I'm going to draw that in. Now these are long straight lines here. So I'm going to take my time, carefully draw this in. So I'm drawing in the important lines, and I'm going to color it in with watercolor once I get the drawing done. So I'll capture the essence here. And there was a line over here. So I do have a little pencil marker I drew in here as a reference line, so I'd have something, or make sure I got the right size and so forth, and the perspective. Okay, now these stoplights, now they were square, so I'm going to go ahead and put those in, just to indicate these stoplights. And I'm going to put this top one in. It was a This is where the light was on. I'm drawing in very carefully. Carefully in effect, I just want to get the size and the dimension proper. But as far as I'm concerned, they don't have to be done perfectly. They just have a, when you draw a line, it has your characteristic in it, and everybody's handwritten letters or handwritten drawing is going to be different, because everybody has a different way of holding a pencil, different pressures, and so your line's going to look different. And that's what makes your art personal, because everybody has their own way of drawing a line or an object. That's why I like art, because you can become artistic in the way you draw. Now there's also a little cross area here. So now I'm putting a little bit of detail here just to show the start. This is the most important part of the bridge and the stop sign, the most important part of the painting. So I'm going to get this in carefully. Now I'll bring this over a little bit, and there's a little vertical. Make sure my head's not in the way of the drawing.
You're fine.
Okay, now there's a post here. Now I took a mental note of this because the photograph doesn't show this pole, but this pole, there was a large pole here, and it's vertical. When you have a lot of horizontals, you also want to have, not as many, but you want some vertical elements in the painting or in the drawing to counterbalance. You don't want to have all one shapes or one directions. You want to have a variety of directions. Horizontal, vertical, diagonal. To make the design interesting and entertaining. Now down here I'm just going to put like a little base on this. Okay. Okay, now the other important structure here is the control tower. And it's just a little building here that's right next to the bridge. Where the watchman controls the bridge up and down, and it's a 24/7 operation. There's always someone there on duty. And I'm going to draw across here, a little section, and there's a little walkway around the top of this. It's not really important. I'm just going to put the shape in there. That's all I wanted to do, put the shape, and then the sides. Okay, now down here on the landscape part, there's the edge of the waterway right here. I can go ahead and put that in. It's like a little grassy hill right here, grassy side. And then there's the boat was going this way, from right to left. So I'll put the bow over here, and the little cabin. There was a little cabin on it. I'll put that in. And there was a interesting looking rooftop. So I'm just marking the windows here in this little. It was a boat, but it had a mast on it, so it has a sail. Of course, the sail wasn't there; it was just a mast. So I'm going to put the mast here. The mast was kind of right in the center of the boat. And a tree line, I'll leave it in. There's a little pencil liner for trees, and it was also a pole here. And that had the there was a red the gate. It holds the gate that closes when the bridge goes up. This pole here holds the gate, and this section here was at the bottom of this hill. This hill came all the way up here, and this is the top of the bridge, top of the roadway, right in front of the bridge, and it went out across the. And this section over, there's a little patch of grass over here, and there was a little patch of grass here on the right, this side over here. So I'll just stick that in. Okay, and it was also an interesting center line in the middle of the roadway here. My angle, I was on the right side, in the right lane, so everything else would look to the left. So to put it in perspective. Okay. All right, now what I've done is I've marked the words in here, stop and then draw open. I left that in pencil, and I'll be painting that in. I'm not going to draw it in with a pen. I'm going to leave that the way it is. I just drew that in. You see I'll get up real close. I drew in here with pencil, stop and draw open. Now I'm going to put that in watercolor. Okay, we'll see that in a few moments. Okay, well I got the main, what I call the main lines of the painting, and I drew it in with an ink fountain pen. And I'll have the description of that pen in the video below. Now what we're going to do now is I'm going to mix up some paint. So over here in my palette, and I'm going to use, this is my Holbein Watercolor Palette with all the Holbein Artists colors that I have. And we'll go through those as I use them. And I'm going to use the Holbein brushes. This is a 3/4 inch flat brush. And I'm going to use a 1/2 inch flat brush from Holbein. And use the synthetic number 8 round Holbein brush. And I'll probably also use a number 1 inch round. These are all flat. These are 3 flat brushes and 1 round brush. And these are all synthetic brushes, Holbein watercolor brushes. And all this information, all this equipment is in my website, everettswatercolors.com. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to, and what I've decided, if I look at the photograph, we'll go back to the photograph here now. I drew in the bridge and the sign. If I look at the photograph, the background, the sky was overcast. There was no sky up there, no clouds or anything. So I'm going to leave the sky white. And this was white here, this white section here, the top of the bridge. And then everything else is dark, or it's got the color of red up here in the front. So we're going to have dark gray or dark brown, black, and then it's going to have some red up here for the lights. I got the white boat down here in the water, dark trees, and the dark on the tower over here, and a little bit of green grass on the sides. And there's that little gate. There's that little gate down here. It goes across the. That's a stop gate. It goes across the road when the light goes on. Stop. That's the traffic gate. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a little bit of darker color, and I think I'm going to use. I'm going to start with Payne's gray. I'm just going to put some light color darks. I might mix a touch of ultramarine blue in that, just to give a little color. And I'm going to put a shade of burnt sienna, just to warm it up slightly. But it's going to be a light color, and it's going to be light here and kind of get darker as it comes down. So using the 3/4 inch brush, I'm going to start up here at the top. Now this paint's going to dry much lighter. It's wet now because it's going to look dark, but as it dries, it'll dry much lighter, about 30% lighter when it dries. So I'm already aware of that. And I'm going to avoid the traffic lights because they're a different color. I'm going to leave those. The only thing I want gray is the bridge. And I'm going to leave this this sign here also alone for a few minutes. I'm going to treat that separately. So continue on down with this lighter gray color. Get past these lights here. So I'm going to go about 2/3 of the way with a lighter value. And as I come down forward to the base of the bridge here, where the section is closer to me up down here, I'm going to get a little bit darker to show perspective. So I'm going to add a little more Payne's gray, a little more ultramarine blue. And I'm going to add that in there now. It'll be a much darker mix. And that base down here is white. I'm going to blend these together now. So one is drying out a little bit and the other one's still wet. So what I do is take a damp brush and go in here and feather that in. Okay, and that's going to dry. Okay, now the roadway also is dark, so I'm going to go ahead and start down here on the roadway. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start with a lighter mix up here. And go ahead and paint this in. This is the roadway. And as I come forward, I'm going to get a little bit darker because the color is going to be a little bit, because of perspective, it's going to be light back here and it's going to be dark as I come forward. Put a little more color in my brush. So as I come forward, I get this is all dark roadway here. Now remember, I mixed in a little bit of Payne's Gray mixed in with just a little bit of Ultramarine to give a different color. Don't like to use one solid color. I like to have a mixture. So a little bit of blue mixed in with the black gives me a darkish color. Dark gray, which is the color of the roadway, dark gray. Now just finishing off the foreground here. Using up that dark paint. Filling the brush. And if you'll notice, also I'm using a square format, which I don't normally use a square format. Usually I have either a portrait or a landscape format. Okay. Okay, now let that dry. Okay. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is work on the those poles a little bit. So what I'm going to do is take another brush. I think what I'm going to do is take some more of that Payne's Gray. I'm going to make a darker mix now, much darker, because I want the pole to show darker than the roadway and darker than the bridge. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this down here. This is still wet, so I'm going to turn upside down. So right now I'm going to confuse you where I am, but I'm going to turn upside down so I could work on this while that's drying. So what I'm going to do is start over here. So now I'm putting in the poles to hold up the sign, the stop sign, and the stop lights. I'm making them a darker color than the rest of the painting here so that they stand out, because this is one of the more important parts of the structure of the painting, is this sign. This is the as I came into the scene here, this is the first thing that struck me, was this big old sign, and I was in the front of the pack of cars, so I had a good viewpoint of this particular part of the bridge. So when I took a photograph, I was very excited. I said, wow, I'm going to make a painting out of this, or at least a demonstration painting. And I think, well, I said, and I can also bring in some ideas about using a pen and ink. And so I really titled this a watercolor sketch, because if you want, it could be a painting. It is a painting, but in the text of doing this, it could also just be a watercolor sketch. Sketch and wash. Sketch and wash is where you do a sketch with a pen and you put watercolor over top of it. So you can call it several things. I'm calling it a watercolor painting, but it could be I'm calling it a watercolor sketch. Yeah, across those cross beams. Now I really simplify the scene by not painting out the sky, because it was overcast. And it wasn't really important for the painting, so I'm just going to leave that white. And that's okay. You can leave the sky white in some cases and just let it be. You don't have to put paint on it. Okay, now I'll go over here where I put in that light gray. I'm going to go over that now with a darker mix. And I'll put in the darker colors for the pole. And I think when I start putting the other colors in, this you'll see this sketch start to come alive because of all the extra colors, especially in this area right here. Everything else was pretty dull, I mean color-wise. Okay, I dropped a little ink here. I dropped a little paint there on the paper. So all you do is take a tissue and pick it right up. If you drop a wet drop on the paper, what you want to do is pick it up right away. Use a tissue or a towel, paper towel or tissue, and pick it right up, and it won't dry. As long as it's wet, you can take it off. So don't be afraid about don't make mistakes. If the paint drops on the painting, then wipe it up or make it into another diagram. Okay, let me turn this around now. Okay. Oh, I got that part done. Now what I'm going to do now is while I'm here, I'm going to use the same colors. But I'm going to mix a little bit more. I don't like to use. I want to use dark colors, which is the Payne's gray. But I'm going to mix in a little bit of color. I'm going to put a little bit of my green, Hooker's green there, a darkish green, and that's going to be the tower over here. That's going to be darker than that because it's backlit. This is backlit, so you can't see the real color of it, but it's a dark green is what it is. So I mixed a little bit of green in with that Payne's gray, and now I'm painting in the tower. There's a little top to it. Comes to a point, and then it goes off the other side. Okay, and then there's a little. Okay, and then underneath that, by the windows here where the watchman can look out. There's windows all the way around this tower. You have 360-degree viewpoint, see in all directions, but it's in shadow. Okay. All right. Now I think the next thing I'll do is I'll put in the background. The background, I'm going to use the same colors. I'm going to use a dark green, mix it in with that black, and I'm going to put the this is a tree line behind the tower, the watchtower. I'll call it the watchtower. That's what it is. So these are a bunch of evergreen trees, and there is some deciduous trees back here, but most of them are evergreen type green trees. They're green all year round. There are a few maple trees and other oak trees and things like that back here, but the majority is evergreen. And I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit past this, just to show that there was a continuation of tree line back here, just to not have it stop all of a sudden, but past the pole here.
Would this be considered a monochromatic painting?
Not exactly. Monochromatic is really one color, like black and white. That would be mono means one color. This is gonna have, when I put I got some yellow and red. It's gonna make it multicolored, and I'm gonna put some green grass over here too. So it's not gonna be monochromatic. But that's a good question. Yeah, I am using a lot of darks and lights here of the same colors, but remember I'm also mixing it in with that black. I'm putting in some blue mixed in with that. I put a little burnt sienna in that mixture with that gray, and over here I add a little bit of green to that black. So it is not monochromatic. Monochromatic paintings are very interesting. I think I've done a few of those, and they're very black and white. My value study is really monochromatic. If you look at my value study, which is black and white, that's a monochromatic sketch. White paper and black ink drawing. I'm not going to show any of the water here. It was a small trace of water, but there wasn't enough there for it to be of impact on this painting. So I'm going to treat this all as background trees. So eliminate the detail that doesn't really show up. And you need to do that in a painting. You don't want to put every single thing that's there. You want to just get the major elements. Okay, now I'm going to bring up this boat a little bit more. I'm going to put in some green now for the grass. And I'll use a little bit of hooker's green. And mix it in with a little bit of ultramarine blue because I don't want the high chroma of that green is too high. So I'm going to knock it down a little bit with the blue. Cool it down with the blue. And then paint the grass in here just in front of this boat. There's a little grass knoll over here. Grass along the edge of the road. I'll leave a little white here. There's a little curb along the edge of the road. I'll leave that there. Again, these are things that I'm making it up now as I go along. It's not important, but while I'm here, I'll leave a little white paper showing. It shows the curb along the edge of the road. Now I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna and kind of go in here. I don't like a plain yellow or orange or whatever I call it. It's a little green. I'll put a little bit of burnt sienna just to add a little difference to that green. Make a variety in that green. Over here also, there's a little patch on this side of the road over here. And I'll take a little bit of that burnt sienna, just kind of dab it in there. Okay, all right. Now, the boat itself, only detail I'm going to show is the windows. So there were some windows here. So I'm going to put some dark windows here where they were backlit, so you couldn't see through them. They were in shadow. But this will show the contour of the boat itself. It has some windows here at the main deck on this sailboat. Okay, now the tower. I'll get to the tower here. The tower, I'm going to mix a little bit of yellow ochre, and I'm going to make that there's a brownish brick color. It's really a dark yellow, so I'm using a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow ochre here, just to show off the tower, just to give it a little different color there. Okay. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and start working on the lights. Those are interesting. So the first thing I want to do is put in some yellow. Now this is yellow. This is yellow deep. I'm going to use yellow deep, maybe mix it with a little bit of lemon yellow, and the back. Of course, these are regular stoplights, so they had a yellow base to them. Which is hard to make out in a photograph, but these are things I saw visually, and these are things in my mind's eye. If you can memorize some detail as you're drawing, and that's the best time to memorize, is when you're drawing something, you store some of the information in your memory that you can use. If it's a color, if it's a special shape, or something you can remember in addition to the drawing, that's important. And I remember these have a little, and from the photograph there's a hint of orange or yellow here, but it's so hard to pick up on the photograph. Okay. And also, I don't want to forget, also, there was a yellow stripe down here, and I'm going to put just very faint yellow. It's a little, not too dark, because I don't want to stand out, but there's a yellow stripe down the middle of the road here. Put that in. Okay. All right. And let's see. Okay. Now the real color here is red. The red lights. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of room here on my palette. And when you have a color like this in a photograph, let's bring the picture back up just so we all remind what we're doing here. Okay, I got that yellow stripe down here. It's a little yellow orange, but that's okay. These lights now were red with a little bit of orange or yellow centers to that because of the brightness of the thing. So the real key here is to get these lights in here. And it's a neon top light, which is a little bit of a challenge to do. So let me try this. I'm going to start with a bit of Pyrrole red. That's the main color. And I'm going to add a little bit of orange to that. Make a little bit of yellow, a little bit of reddish orange. Primarily that red right there. That's a nice red right there. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put that what I call the outline of that. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than the shape I have drawn in there. So I'm going to come in, keep that center line open. And this one was also lit up red. I'm going to make remember these lights were neons. I don't know if you call them neon or not, but these are just bright lights on a stop. And I think everybody knows what a stoplight looks like with a red on. Everybody has seen stoplights. They know what they look like. There's no doubt in your mind. So I'm trying to simulate here with watercolor. The photograph is a little hint to what to do, but right now I'm really coming up with what I think is my interpretation of that color and the glow. I'm trying to get the glow of that light. And in the center, I'm going to put that yellow deep. The yellow deep is going to go in the center, not white. There. Okay, and now down at the bottom, the other light was off. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of just a darker color, and this one was off. There was nothing down here. What I did is picked a little bit of that greenish black, and that goes here in the bottom. So that was off. So that's the bottom light. That's the green light, but it's off in shadow. Okay, now the big kahuna here, the big sign. I'm going to get some more of that red. Let's mix it up. Yeah, a little bit of orange in there, what I started with. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to go in here now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw these in. just kind of freehand. With the idea that I'm looking at a stoplight, which is red, and this sign has the glow of the letters coming through a light. Now I put a little pencil. I had a little pencil line underneath, so I have a guide. I have a guide to how to put this letter in there. I'm just not drawing it by writing it in. I got a guideline that I'm not following it, but I have a location that I have and a size. Okay, I got just 2 more letters to go. The first letter was draw, D. Of course, this stands for drawbridge. This is a drawbridge, so that's what they have here. This is a special drawbridge. I go over this bridge every weekend when I go plein air. One way or the other. Coming and going. So these letters are so close, they're going to kind of run together, which is what I want. Because they're very indistinct, like you could read them, but the light is so bright on there that it's almost blared out.
That's another exercise as well, with practicing your lettering.
Oh, well, lettering is kind of not tricky, but it's something you practice. But when you put the brush down now, you have a brush work. You have to work on the stroke. If it's a straight edge or a round edge. And I would recommend before you do this is practice on another piece of paper so that you become more familiar with painting with a brush. Because painting with a brush and painting with a drawing with a brush and drawing with a pencil is 2 different things. The brush is less forgiving. You only get 1 chance, and you hope for the best. There we go, 1 more. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. Let me dry that down. Let's see if I got all the other colors here. What I want to do now is go back with my 3/4 inch brush. A little bit of burnt sienna. And mixed in with that Payne's gray. And there's a dark edge on the bottom. There's white, this white section has got a dark edge on it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. I'm going to add this in. Right here. I'm not finished with the sign yet. Just letting it dry, letting that red paint dry. I'll go back in. I'm going to color in around it a little bit. Not everything. I'll just do the best I can on that. I'll show you what my ideas are, and we'll see. So there's a bottom edge of this bridge is black or dark. Okay, and now I'm going to pick up the dark green for remember we did the trees with the blue and the green and the black, and there was a little tree line. This tree line continued on over here, and it went on this side over here also. I'll put it over here. The tree line on this side of the bridge. Kind of complete the scene a little bit. over here on this section. Okay. Now there's one little, just come down here. Still drying. Okay, now one little asset that I tried. Let's try with this. Let's try with this brush here. I'm gonna use a round brush again, and I'm gonna take a little bit of red paint. And there's a little. Remember I mentioned that little gate here, the red and white gate that goes across the road. I'm gonna put that in. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in some red and white marks. This is the gate that went across. It goes across the roadway, so that you know that's where you can't cross over anyway. If you get past the light, you're not gonna get past the gate. So it's a red and white marker sign. It's actually a pole that comes down from this, but it hangs down on both sides of the road. There's one on this left side also, but I don't have the pole over here, so I'm just going to, you have to just imagine where it is. And let's see, I'm going to put, there's another one here too. There's actually two of them, two lines. And I'm putting this in with a brush, not being real terribly careful with it, just getting an idea here, just the idea of the color in there. And also, there was also a little light on the top one. Let's see, get one in here, one there, and see one right here. Little red lights along the top of the top pole. They go all the way across. Little flashing lights that, again, these are just stop markers on the gate. Okay, that's good enough. Let's see, let me leave anything off. Okay. Let me see. All right, I've got one other thing. I've got the bridge in, and this grass coming up here almost to the edge, up to the edge of that pole. Okay. All right. What I'm going to do up here, the last touch. I'm going to leave the sky white. Now that sign I'm not going to leave white. What I'm going to do there is I'm going to mix up a real light blue, maybe a cerulean blue, and a little bit of brown, a little bit of black in that. Make it into a gray. And what I'm going to do now is kind of play with that to see if that's what I want to do. Really light. Okay, I think that'll work. Okay, so I'm going to put a light little color here behind the sign. Different than the roadway. Okay, it's not the color that's in the photograph, or it's not the color I remember it was, but it was. I just want to separate this color from the sky and separate it from the color of the bridge. So just by putting a little blue behind that red to separate the colors, and I'm breaking up those letters a little bit.
Stark Music Presents has a question. They're from Bristol, UK. Nice painting, and what paper do you use?
Okay, good question. Thank you for the comment on the paper I use. I use Gemini I didn't mention that. I'm sorry. I usually do in all my videos. It's Gemini 140 pound cold press, 140 pound archival. And this happened to be, I took a whole sheet, cut it down to a half sheet, and then put it into a quarter sheet, and then sliced off the top to make it into a square configuration. Now, this paper is also available on my website, everettswatercolors.com. But it's a Gemini Watercolor Archival 140 pound cold press. Okay. All right, let me make sure I got everything I want. What I want to do, let me take the black again. We'll go over a few things we covered today. Okay, take the black. Take the black with a little pen here, and I'm going to put in. I'm going to put in some birds. Okay, got some birds flying in the air around the bridge. Okay. What I've learned today is, number one, the pen. The pen and ink is a good way to get the sketch down, both in a sketch pad or whatever. But then to put it down on watercolor paper as an outline. What I did is I drew in the main lines, which was the bridge shape and this this shape here that held up the sign and the roadway, and I got the boat in there and so forth. But I use this to capture the main lines. That's one thing we learned. Another one is the contrast, or let's say in depth. When you have something that's further away, the top's going to be lighter than the bottom, or it could be the other way around. It could be as long as there's a change in value from light to dark, from top to bottom, because it shows it's further away. The same way with a roadway. The top is light, it comes to dark as you come forward. So when you paint an object, you use perspective, you use the aerial perspective as much as possible to show what's further back and what's closer forward. Anything that's closer forward is going to be a little bit darker in color, and your way further back is going to be a bit lighter in color. If it's the same color, it says black, will be lighter. Okay, the other thing was, I think in a square format, I think with the structure here and the elements, I think the square format works. So that's the three lessons that I could show here. The other thing was in painting out the sign, and let's go back to the sign. When you paint out the sign, when you're going to get that fluorescent light of the light itself, the red, and then the fluorescent of the sign itself, what you need to do is really put in the color and put it in heavy, and then that's the way it's going to happen. Okay. Now I could play around with this. I could darken this a little bit further around, but I think I'll just leave it alone. I like what happened right there. Okay. Now let's put a frame around it. That's not big enough. Okay, but I could just use an 8x10 frame here and frame off part of it. I could just frame off part of it there. Or if I wanted to do it this way, landscape-wise, I could do it this way. So if I did it in a square format, I could get a square frame for it. But if I had a say a regular form, I could use a landscape format with this particular frame right there. That would work. Or if I just wanted to show the bridge itself, I could use a portrait format and put it like that. So I have two options. I could get three options. I could do the square, get a bigger frame, or I could use a regular frame you have and just frame in the sections that you want. And that's always good anytime. You can always frame in the sections you want to show in a painting. Okay, let's go to my main camera. Let me set up here. Hey, back to my main camera. Hi. Okay. Had a lot of fun today. Number one, I always like to draw, whether it's pencil or pen or whatever. But this pen really does a good job, and I'll have the description of this pen, fountain pen, in the description below the photograph or the video. But I enjoyed today. I think what I went over already was it was a good lesson in describing. I found something on the spot. I was driving the road. I got stopped by a stop sign, took a photograph, made a quick sketch, and from that I developed what I call a sketch painting. So I hope you liked that. If you did, give me a thumbs up and a like. I'd appreciate that. And subscribe to my channel. And wherever, if you're subscribed, then you'll be notified of my next video, which I'll be back again next Thursday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then tonight I'll be back at 7:30 p.m. with Simply Drawing with Everett. And I'll do a little drawing tonight. I'm going to work on 3-point perspective. If you haven't done that, you might want to check me out. 7:30 p.m. tonight, same channel. And then on Sunday, I put out a little, anyone can draw with one line only on Sundays. So if you're subscribed to my channel, you'll be notified of those videos. So you all have a safe week. And let's see, is June coming up yet? We got one more week, don't we? Okay, one more week of May. So enjoy the weather while it's still a little bit cooler, because it's going to get warm. So you enjoy it. Do a little painting outside like I do. Do drawing and painting, but have a good time. And you might want to try this. If you do, share it on my Facebook page, Everett's Watercolors Art Group on Facebook. So until then, you all be safe, and I'll see you in the next video.